I'm an attorney. I've been practicing for quite some time, and I restrict my practice at this time to injury and accident claims, and that's all I do. Went to school in Hammond, Southeastern Louisiana University, and I got a degree in mathematics and chemistry, and then I went to work as a field engineer for Halliburton after that, but I always knew that I wanted to go back to law school, and then I eventually did go back to law school at Loyola University in New Orleans. When I started out, I did just about anything that came in the office, and eventually I worked my way around to becoming a public defender. The DA hired me to work as a prosecutor, and I worked as a prosecutor for several years. But during the time I had a private practice, and I still geared myself to knowing that I wanted to do personal injury work. You know, I take cases from various locations, but mostly it comes from Tangiboa, Livingston, and St. Helena Parish, and some St. Tammany and Washington Parish. When a claim first comes in, usually there is an accident report. You need that accident report, and you need any documentation that the people have. Any attorney that handles personal injury claims is not going to charge them anything to just have them come in and consult with them. Under Louisiana law, if you're riding in a vehicle and you don't have insurance, you lose your rights to your first $15,000 in personal injuries and your first $15,000 in property damage claims to your own vehicle. So it behooves you never to let that policy lapse, and make sure you always have coverage. What usually happens is if there's a question about who is at fault, then the people on the other side, the defendants, are going to say, well, you know, we're not going to pay for the property damage at this time because we don't know who's at fault. That's when you have to consult with your own company, who will help you pay for it, and if it is the other fellow's fault, they will get that money back. If the accident's not your fault, then your rates should not go up, even if you have to use your own insurance. He needs to gather up as much information as he can about the accident, which usually consists of the accident report, and if he checked into the hospital, I need to know the dates that he checked in, and I need to see any correspondence. I will need claim numbers. I will need just anything that they have that tells me who to talk to, because it's a maze and you have to work through it for the client. They always tell me, well, I have full coverage. That term doesn't really mean anything. It just means that you won't get a ticket for riding on the roads of Louisiana for not having insurance. There are two things on there that can help you. One is called MedPay, and the other is called uninsured motorist coverage. That's in addition to the normal things that you carry, like liability coverage. MedPay is a no-fault portion of your policy, which anybody in your car that's hurt can avail themselves of the MedPay, and it's usually in increments of $1,000, $5,000, or $10,000 on your policy. You can use that to pay for immediate emergency medical bills and run tests. It's very important if you don't have a good health insurance policy. It's not so important if you have good health insurance that will pay for your injuries and pay for your medical. The other portion of the policy that's even more important is uninsured motorist coverage, because so many people out there have either no coverage or a minimum coverage. So if someone hits you and they have no coverage, then your uninsured motorist coverage will pay for your injuries just as if he did. Same goes for if he does have some coverage and it's not enough to pay for your injuries, then you can stack your policy on top of his. So if he has a minimum $15,000 policy and your injuries are worth more than that, and you have a $15,000 in UM coverage, then the uninsured motorist coverage, that gives you now $30,000 that you can collect, and it's of no consequence to you to use that if you're not at fault. Uninsured motorist coverage will pay when the guy has no insurance, he has some insurance, or it's a stolen vehicle or a hit-and-run vehicle. Even if you don't have a claim, if you want to come in and let me look at your policy, I'll tell you what I think you ought to have if you can afford it. Sure, that I would like for you to buy the maximum amount of insurance, but not everybody can afford $250,000, $300,000 in insurance because it'll break you. But at least if you have the right coverages, you won't get stuck in an accident. Now, the other question that a lot of people will ask me when they come in is, well, how much is my claim worth? I like to think I'm a good lawyer, but I'm only as good as the medical records I get. So the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to go to your doctor and let him document your claim, and so you can see how much it's worth. The judges, in viewing how much a claim is worth, look at how long you were treated, how serious are the injuries. Every claim is different, and every claim stands on its own. I have a hard time billing people by the hour, so I like to do things like this that help people in the end. So when they leave my office, they're going to have something in their pocket, I hope.